Hey guys, this is Brett. If you're wondering what's been going on with the show, well, we've had a lot of changes in our team's personal lives this year. Our families are growing, our jobs are changing for the better, and some of us are moving across the country, and others are in the process of buying new homes. We don't want you to think we're going away, and don't want you to think we don't care about making new content for our fans. We love you guys, and you're the reason we keep doing what we're doing. Stay tuned and give us a little time, because we've got some amazing content still to come. Once our lives calm down a little bit, you're going to get even better content because we're going to have even more time to produce even better quality stuff, including audiobooks, videos for our YouTube, and new adventures into pop culture. This is going to be our biggest year ever, both personally and professionally. Well, if you can consider what we do here as a profession. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest and greatest installment of... What are we calling this thing?
It's got like 10 different names. It depends on what day of the week it is.
I don't know. Well, anyway, this is about fucking Sabrina, everybody. I hope you guys are ready.
Deep spooking.
Deep spooking with Brett and Nick talking about the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Oh, yeah. We got a lot of feedback about how great our first two episodes were because Brett and Nick have a lot of opinions on pop culture.
Yeah.
And yeah, this works out pretty well. So
my mom loved it.
Yeah, my mom did too, even though she hasn't watched Sabrina, but she tells me I'm handsome. So I hope you guys are ready because we've got a lot of opinions. I know this is coming to you probably a little bit late because this is about the solstice episode, and we did promise that we were going to drop this. So we figured, why not? You know what? Who doesn't love talking about the winter solstice sometime in the early spring, maybe summer by the time this comes out? But hey, who cares? Guess what? If it comes out in the summer, you just got a couple more months till a new season of Sabrina comes out anyway.
Literally, the magic keeps rolling. There's never a bad time for this.
I agree. And guess what? Streaming culture means that it's always available, and you can go watch it right now if you want. You probably already saw it over the holiday season, but you know what? Take a listen to this, then go back and watch it, because I'm sure you're going to have a couple takeaways from it that are at least somewhat new.
Actually, you know what? The remaining 9 episodes of the first season are actually coming out on April 5th, so we're right on the money for once.
Oh, shit. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, man, this is going to be good. So, by the way, redact all that. You're welcome for this coming out when it did.
It's just going to be a long bleep.
I'm so excited. So, with the wave of new Sabrina content coming, you can just be rest assured there's probably going to be 2, maybe 3, who knows, 4.
We're just changing this. Welcome to Sabrina Cast.
Yeah, you're right. So
we did enough states. Nobody cares about the middle ones.
No
We're going to throw California in there. Blah, 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 blah. Lake Tahoe, spooky people.
Yep,
all right,
exactly.
Sabrina.
Back to the content that our listeners really care about, which is what Nick and Brett think about Sabrina.
A teenage witch.
You know what? The thing that I like about this show, and I've talked about this a lot, is the fact that it makes witchcraft a very fun and engaging pop culture topic. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but over the last couple months, I think there's been a lot more content coming out that is occult themed, especially in the major streaming channels.
Absolutely.
And I think Sabrina probably captured that the most. You did have a couple things drop on Netflix recently, like The Order, something I'm definitely interested in checking out.
And we'll probably review on here, so stay tuned.
Yeah, exactly. Whether or not it is awful, I am not sure. We also had, oh gosh, I'm blanking on the name here, but it was that spooky baking show. Did you see that one that came out over the Halloween season?
Yeah, I saw that one. I didn't get to watch it, but I saw it advertised, and it piqued my interest.
You know, I watched about 3 or 4 episodes of it. It is delightful. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, and I'm sure that's terrible for a podcast host to admit on the air, but fuck it. Who cares? No one really listens to this
This is
anyway.
Sabrina Cast, not Spooky Bacon Cast.
Exactly. And oh my gosh, it's just there just seems to be so much engagement around it right now.
I think it's the support for it, really. Like, I know there's definitely been a lot of talk in the beginning. They're like, why are you going with this route with Sabrina? Like, you've already seen, in the late 90s, or mid 90s, really, you saw the original version of Sabrina, skyrocket in popularity because she was accessible. She was very much to modern sensibilities at the time. There was some occult themes, there was some occult things to it, but it was like sanitized almost.
Yeah, it was like a wholesome family view to it.
Yep.
And one of the things that I like about the new Sabrina is if you really peel it back, there is still some very wholesome family themes to it. They're just different religion than everybody else is, aside from the horrible travesty that is the Feast episode, which I have a lot of negative opinions about.
Yeah.
That still remains to be my least favorite episode of the entire series. But hey, guess what? We're going to be talking about my second to least favorite episode of the entire series, which is the Solstice episode.
So buckle up, everybody.
Oh boy, here we go. Here come the opinions, everybody. So, Nick, what, right before we get into discussing it, what was your big, what is your general opinion of the Solstice episode? I'd like to hear that.
Overall, I liked the inclusion of the Yule lads. I thought it was a really cool kind of nod to something that I know not a lot of people really pay attention to. And it was something that I remember when we did, I think it was Christmas 2017.
Yeah, we talked about Gryla
Yep,
and the Yule
we
lads.
talked about Gryla and the Yule lads, and I thought that was such a cool story even then. So to hear, them kind of like bring it to prominence and make it such a central piece of the episode, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. You've got the demon Bartel, which is neat unto itself. He's kind of like a Krampus figure. I mean, he looks exactly like Krampus. And then you have Gryla and the Yule lads. Those are two really unique, spooky things that were introduced in the Solstice episode as being part of the continued universe of Sabrina, which I'm really excited about because that shows that not only do you have like American folklore in the show, but you also have European folklore influences.
Yep.
Now, do I think that the episode was terrible? Maybe. I don't know if it was necessarily terrible. I still loved it and watched it like 3 times. Now I can say this because I love the series,
Right?
And I can find fault with things that I like.
I mean, it's really like pizza or sex. Like there is
exactly.
bad, of each,
Right.
but you're still having pizza or sex. Maybe both.
Maybe both.
I'm not going to judge you, man.
One than the other. Live your best life, really. So, that being said, I do have a lot of stuff to talk about with this, and I hope you guys are ready to hear a dissection on the Solstice episode.
And if not, just go ahead and close the app, go to Twitter, leave us a review, and I'll delete it.
Yeah, exactly, because we don't pay attention to negative criticism. This is 2019, and we choose to consume the reviews that we want, okay?
Block the haters.
Yeah.
2008 is back in a big way.
That's right. If you don't like it, you can go straight to hell.
Which in this show is a positive thing. It's like saying, I hope you make it to heaven.
Exactly.
I can't wait to see you in hell, Brett.
I can't wait to see you in hell, Nick. I'll be there with the rest of my family. So, that being said, let's dive right in. So the Solstice episode opens with a flashback of Sabrina and little Susie in a department store, which, by the way, they had fucking fantastic casting on the 2 children that were Susie and Sabrina. I don't know if you noticed that, but my God, whoever was running casting over there at Sabrina, good on you. You should get a raise. That was
absolutely phenomenal. Much like Kiernan Shipka really did look like the daughter of Don Draper and
absolutely
whatever January Jones' character's name was. Young Sabrina absolutely, like, I swear to God, it just probably is her little sister.
Yeah, it could have been her little sister, and I'm blown away by that. And the actor that plays Susie, that one, spot on as a child too.
Yep.
I like the continuing of how Susie dresses also as a child. Solid continuation.
Absolutely.
Now, there is one thing that I will point out that I was baffled by, and as someone that has watched every episode about 3 times now, I got to say this is either a fault of my own or a fault of the writers here, because I'm not 100% on this. But did you notice that Aunt Hilda says, what does she say? We pray to Satan that everything works out, to Susie's dad. She says that directly to him. And it's like, he completely is like, oh, yeah, I know.
No, yeah, big Satan guy here.
What the fuck? Like,
I don't know about you, but we worship Satan in this house.
Right.
Where I'm very prejudiced against my clearly trans child.
Right. That's bizarre, right? Like, is that a continuity error? Or is like, what is going on with that?
I can't tell if it's a continuity error or if it's kind of like a really...
Is that a foreshadow? Like maybe like Susie's dad knows?
Either that or I think it's just kind of a nobody cares. Like nobody's really paying attention when the others talk because it's almost like a meaningless platitude. It's the thoughts and prayers of their world. And anytime anybody says it to me, I just kind of go, okay, thanks, bye.
Yeah. That's true. I didn't think of it like that because all that I was doing was internally screaming as, is this a continuity error?
He's not like them, is he? Is he? He is.
Did I miss something? I know I've watched a lot of this, but what is going on? Am I taking fucking crazy pills?
Yes, but that's only to enhance the viewing.
So that was that opens the episode, by the way, is what I think may be a continuity error.
So check it out and then let us know what you think. Is it a continuity error? You tell us. Follow us on Twitter at GoFolkPodcast.
Yeah, and if you think Brett's full of shit, go ahead, rewatch the whole fucking thing, and you're going to see that is probably a continuity error.
Probably a pretty glaring one, too, because they're usually pretty buttoned up about that in public.
Yeah, exactly. Except for the one time back in the 90s, I assume, where fucking Aunt Hilda is talking to the prejudiced father of Susie in a public department store. Okay.
Satan bless you. What? I said...
Jesus.
Nothing. Jesus. Nailed God. Bless you.
Oh, thank you. Merry Christmas to you, too. So,
because it's the 90s before the libtards got rid and sanitized the holidays.
Exactly. And we could say things like Merry Christmas.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, America. So that was the first thing that I had an issue with. And it was like an immediate, good job casting, bad job writing. Like within about 45 seconds of one another.
Yeah, it was very much a whiplash.
Yeah, my head still hurts from spinning on that one. But other than that, there's a lot of things that I do like about the episode. There's also still more to come that I don't like.
Yep.
The next thing that I wanted to talk about is things they got right. So,
sure.
As you know, Nick, I love talking about interior design and costuming. As
the only two,
man,
I was going to say, as the two gayest members of our podcast.
Exactly.
Let's break down the costuming. Fabrics. Mixed fabrics or not?
It depends on the character, actually.
Right?
Let's get to that in just a second because I want to talk about the holiday decor of the Spellman household. By the way, phenomenal. Whoever designed that, you should get a raise. You should be up there with the casting person that found those two children that look remarkably similar to the current actors. But did you notice how wonderfully Victorian it was?
That was exactly what I thought while rewatching it. I just kind of looked around and said, I know they're supposed to be several hundred years old.
Right.
And it was just flawlessly Victorian.
Yeah, and that it makes sense being that Hilda and Zelda are, they're of an indeterminate age, right? Because in the universe, being a practicing witch means that your aging slows down. So, it's not to say that they may not be, 80 or 90 years old, and the show itself does take place in a timeless period. So we're not really sure what time this necessarily happens.
They definitely do that kind of Riverdale-esque time warpiness. And I mean, it makes sense. It's in line with the comics because even now, if you pick up a standard mainline Archie comic, he's driving his 40s jalopy,
right?
But then he'll pick up his iPhone or something. So it's deliberately, kind of extemporaneous, so you can't really place it. And I kind of dig that. One
of the things, too, that I've noticed about the series is that there's a very little use of technology in it. Have you noticed that? The characters, they do have cell phones, but they don't use them very often, and they don't get screen time. They're not on laptops a lot. And a lot of the interior shots of their schools is very extemporaneous as well. Especially the academy and then the high school that Sabrina and her friends attend in Greendale. It could be literally out of any time period in the 20th century. So it's kind of neat that it's in this little time bubble unto itself, which is very well done. I think also the Archie show Riverdale also kind of does this right too. The thing that I really like about specifically the Spellman household over the holidays is that the Victorian feel blends into this like weird eclectic goth feeling
Yep.
that they have in their home.
Absolutely.
But they also have a lot of like mid-century stuff in the house. Have you seen like
specifically like Sabrina's areas tend to do that a lot. She
Yeah.
gives off a very 60s vibe, which
Yeah,
is in line
exactly.
with her character. So a lot of her stuff, and I think it's kind of meant really to juxtapose her to her aunts.
Right.
Specifically because Ambrose also kind of is in this like nebulous field.
He's
So-
like 60s mod feeling
Yep.
to me, at least. Like in the way that he dresses with like his like Chelsea boots and like fitted pants and kind of flowy shirts. Comes across as to me like very.
All right, before
60s
we get all
mod.
hot and bothered for
Okay,
Ambrose.
I got to stop on that one. He's by far the coolest character on the show. I don't know. I have a soft spot for Mrs. Wardwell.
Ms. Wardwell is a really cool character, but I think you're right. I think from a relatability standpoint and everything else, like Ambrose is the warlock I want to play
right
in D&D.
Oh my
Like,
god, me too.
He's got that bardic style of just like he's just in incessant swagger,
Yeah.
but he's smart. Like he is really intelligent. And he doesn't make a lot of missteps in the show.
Right, and you see that like I can't even think of really one misstep he actually makes. He does give some kind of like bad-natured advice every now and then
Right.
to Sabrina, but usually
But
it's,
in the older cousin way, I
right.
feel.
Yeah, like, hey, you should try this. And then, like, he kind of doesn't want to participate
Yeah.
because he knows that he shouldn't be doing
Right.
that. But he wants to at least let her have the freedom of choice to decide what she wants to do.
Almost a Promethean figure, really, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, he's the only one that actually really teaches her new things outside of the academy.
Man, I didn't really even think about that until the words came out of my mouth.
Right? Yeah, he's like, she learns more from Ambrose. And it's interesting. She learns more about the dark side of witchcraft from Ambrose, but she learns a lot about the light side of witchcraft from Aunt Hilda.
I'd say so.
Which we'll touch on in a little bit because I've got some thoughts on her too, as my probably third favorite character.
But yeah, the actual feel, I think you really nail it. That mod style
Yeah.
really does apply to Ambrose and Sabrina because I mean that's how she always dressed.
Right.
She's got that platinum blonde
Like
now
Bob.
kind
Yeah.
of thing going on, which really works for me. But that's another episode.
And she's also she has that kind of like mod preppy collegiate feel.
Yep.
To
Very
her,
co-ed.
Yeah, exactly. And that just smacks of Americana. She's like 60s Americana in her wardrobe.
Absolutely.
And then Ambrose is like 60s, 70s like British mod.
Yep.
Like I don't
like
know
a
what
chav kind of.
No,
not
he's not a
really.
chav.
Not chav because
he's too cool to be a chav.
That's true. I'll give you that. I'll redact that comment.
He's too hip for that. They're both incredibly hip. But anyway, back to the interior for just a
Right.
second. I noticed this in this episode because I was actually paying attention and taking notes.
We definitely didn't text about it last night. So
No,
please
definitely
look
not.
for these things.
Have you ever paid attention to the kitchen of the Spellman household?
The kitchen almost, again, is to me at least when I look at it, it almost feels different than the rest of the house, farmhousey almost, like goth
Right?
farmhouse.
The furniture is farmhousey.
Mm-hmm.
But have you looked at the appliances?
Not really. If I had to take a guess, like kind of like recreating it from memory, probably a lot of like Hobarty style 50s appliances.
Yeah, very much so. Like enameled 50s
Yep.
appliances that are all turquoise and like seafoam green.
So they
Which
just
is-
raided my cabinets, and
Right.
my wife's going to find out shortly.
Which is interesting because like the rest of the house is it has like a Victorian eclectic flair to it, but then you get into the kitchen and it's like modern farmhouse meets 1950s. And I think that is fucking perfect
It really is.
because the one that's in the kitchen primarily is Hilda.
Who is very like, if the rest of the house, you know what it reminds me of, really?
What's that?
It's that couple that says like, okay, look, I want to do all the decorating, but I'll give you a couple rooms that I know you love to participate in.
absolutely.
So it's like when we get our new house, which will be our new studio eventually, I'll get to design the studio, how it's going to look for recording and everything, and the kitchen, the
Right.
two places I use the most.
Exactly. And then
And then Brent's
will
going to do everything else.
And it's pretty obvious that Zelda has decorated the entirety
Oh, yeah.
of the Spellman mortuary.
Including their previously shared bedroom.
Right, which is weird.
Oh, yeah, that's another
a whole
episode.
different thing. But
Or later this episode, we'll see.
but the kitchen and like the greenhouse is 100% Hilda.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting, and I'll just go ahead and talk about this because we're
Sure.
already on this vein here. But one of the things that I like about Hilda's character that I didn't pick up on my first, second, or third rewatching and didn't really realize until last night is that a lot of Hilda's magic is like kitchen witchcraft. Did you pick up on that?
Very Molly Weasley.
Yeah,
when I was
definitely.
thinking about it.
Like her whole deal in this episode is magic eggnog that
Yep.
makes Harvey's father forget that he's a fucking horrible alcoholic, which is terrible. And I hate Harvey and I hate his dad and his whole family.
Just let's throw the whole Kinkle family
Really,
into that mine, and we'll see what happens.
I wish that they would have all died in the mine. That would have been way better. And then the second thing that she makes is a magic shortbread that makes
Yeah.
Susie's problematic and transphobic father forget that
She was
12
missing.
hours.
Yeah.
That she had been abducted by a demon that wanted to, they had been abducted by a demon that wanted to turn them into a fixture.
Woof.
Yeah, super creepy. But anyway, both of her things that she does in this episode are all in kitchen oriented. And looking back across the rest of the series, the majority of the stuff that she does is kitchen related.
She is very maternal. Like,
Yeah.
if maternal magic is a thing,
Right.
that's Hilda encapsulated in 2 words.
Absolutely. And that's why I think a lot of the like positive, lighter side of things comes from Hilda, because her stuff is all like home related. And that's really
Yeah.
nice, I think. So you've got like the whole like Spellman family dynamic. And when I'm saying Spellman, I'm talking about the living ones that are in the Spellman mortuary.
Right.
You've got Zelda, who is a accomplished midwife and also very obviously well researched like witch, because I don't know if you've ever picked up on this, but if she's reading papers, they're all in different languages, first of all. So she's obviously a polyglot. And
That one actually took me until my second watch through to pick up.
Yeah.
And that was only because I had watched the original series or started in
Right.
between them.
Yeah.
So as I looked at the comparisons between the two, and this is not a comparison episode, though it could be if we wanted it to. In the comparisons between the two Zeldas, 90s Zelda is very sweet compared to this Zelda.
Oh,
Like, you know
absolutely.
that the current Zelda cares very deeply. But it's different because original Aunt Zelda is very caring, but very almost divorced from a lot of things. Like, she's very good at being logical.
Right.
And that was her whole shtick. Like, she was logical, she was well researched, and she could speak to whatever she kind of needed to in the moment, whether it was a scientific article or
Right.
or a historical thing or whatever. She provided a lot of that, like, left brain,
Right.
kind of like, here's the things you need to know.
Right.
And then rewatching, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, I saw that and I didn't catch it the first time around, but it's different now. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily overtly, I care about you and I'm giving you this information or whatever. It's just, it's very much kind of fades into the background to set this layer of like well-read, buttoned-up Aunt Zelda.
Right. And she's very detached from the rest of them, but obviously very much cares. And you have to kind of like really pay attention to Zelda to get her character development over
Yep.
the series. But the fact that her like caring for her family is actually her defining characteristic. She just doesn't express it in the same way as everyone else does.
I think it really is actually captured in the Solstice
Yeah,
episode
and you get that a lot in this episode.
after the seance.
Yeah.
When she goes up to Sabrina and she's like actually hurt. She's like, why didn't you tell me you wanted to do this? And Sabrina's like, I don't know, I didn't think you'd help me. And she goes, you're Sabrina. She goes, and that's my sister-in-law. She goes, I would absolutely do that to help you guys.
It's like and that's like a really humanizing thing. Like the whole like Letitia storyline with Zelda really seeks to like humanize her more as a character.
I
And then
agree.
the like that particular scene after the seance shows, and you can see it in her face too. Whenever she sees Diana as a ghost for the first time,
It's
and
not.
she's like,
it's not
hurt.
anger. She's hurt. Yeah.
She's hurt that she wasn't included in it, which
Yep.
is really good writing.
Oh yeah.
So that's what's funny is a lot of the things that I like about the Solstice episode are like there are some really fucking good writing points.
Yeah.
But you have to look for them.
No, you have to dig.
And the things that are bad about the Solstice episode are also in the writing.
It was like, that was kind of what bothered me about it, because the first time I watched it, I kind of left and I went, huh.
Me
yeah.
too.
And then I watched it again and I went, okay, there's gems here, but like, I don't know. I thought it was a really odd note to put their hiatus on.
Yeah,
Not
me
hiatus,
too.
however they want to word it, but still, it felt weird. It was a very flat note in an otherwise pretty good symphony.
Yeah, I agree, because like the first run, part 1, Chilling Adventures, is fucking fantastic.
Oh yeah,
There's some stumbles in there, not gonna lie.
Feast.
Feast, obviously. Disorder in the court. Disorder in the court.
That was the campiest thing. I laughed, but it was not a healthy laugh. It was like I was uncomfortable, and I was like, okay, I see what you're doing. Please stop.
Right, and but for the majority of it, I would say like 90% of it, I'm like,
Easily.
Obviously, I like it a lot. I've watched it fucking 3 times now. And the Solstice episode was definitely like it was a build up season finale, which is fucking excellent.
Yeah, if they just stopped there, I would have been okay.
Right, and then you get this like 0.5, like season 1.5
Yep.
episode, and it's definitely a 0.5.
Oh yeah,
if you get what I'm saying. Like,
yep, absolutely.
because it doesn't like it's kind of like a I'm okay.
It's the Star Wars Christmas special of Sabrina.
Yeah, and which is unfortunate because they could have done so much cool stuff with
Yeah.
it. And to a certain extent, they did do a lot of cool stuff with it, but a lot of it was to beat you over the head. And I think where the show shines is the subtlety to it.
Yeah.
And the Solstice episode kind of lacked that as like the main plot points, and they kind of like went too hard into like, oh, let's find fucking everything that's Solstice related that's spooky.
Yeah.
And we'll just do that. But that
It really
being
was
said-
actually like, no, you're okay. The pacing, I think, is what did that for me, because it would go from like moving quick, something's happening, and then it was like hit the brakes and stop, and you're just kind of like in a transition scene, and I found myself like actually daydreaming and then needing to come back to it because eventually it would pick back up.
Yeah, what's funny is I think that the transition scenes actually shone brighter than the entirety of the rest of it.
You're not really wrong. It was a lot of those, particularly the Sabrina Ambrose ones, that did a lot of it.
Right.
But yeah, it just some of the main ones did leave you with that kind of like unfinished feeling.
Yeah.
And some of the other ones, I found it was some of those that like the big scenes where I kind of found myself drifting a little bit.
Yeah, me
'Cause
too.
it was supposed to be big. You had like the one when Diana shows up and Gryla and they're all in the house.
Right.
I'm kind of like waiting because it was like a long drawn out thing, and I'm like, what are you trying to say? And then something would happen, and you would hear something subtle from Hilda or Zelda.
Right.
And that was where I went, okay.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, there's your payoff.
And it's weird that was the payoff, you know? Like, I feel like the big payoffs in this episode was really understanding the family dynamics more, because I think that's what really shined to me.
Which,
No.
I mean, I guess looking back, it's a Christmas episode, you know, at the
Right,
end of the
yeah,
day,
exactly.
And it would make sense that that's the case, but they didn't really bill it that way.
Yeah,
you
I
had to
know.
find it for yourself.
Right. And, well, let's just go ahead and talk about the main points then.
Sure.
So Gryla as a plot point was terrible, I think.
Yeah.
Because what's interesting is that they've brought in a European folklore figure from like Scandinavia to the U.S. And first of all, the costuming and makeup of Gryla, great. Fucking loved it.
Really
Aside
well
from
done.
like the weird purse that she carries for some reason.
That's where she puts her kids.
I guess. And the inclusion of something like minor folklore related in the Yule Lads and Gryla, super good. Good on you for digging that up, writers of Sabrina. But the way that they wrote Gryla was just lacking.
Yeah.
Because first of all, it's a Scandinavian myth. I would expect the actor to have a Scandinavian accent.
Didn't like Trailer Park
Right.
Gryla. My kids over here again? Fuck, get those Yule. Come on, boy. Get out
this
Get out
Yule
here, boy.
house. Come on. But it was really weird because like I know that they explain it as it being an American witch, but that's really, and which is like, it's their own interpretation of it.
I mean, a lot of the show is an interpretatory thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So I get it. Like, that's their prerogative to do, but it felt forced almost.
It would have been stronger, I think, if they had kept the Scandinavian influence to it. And they could have really explored like the importation of European folklore to America in a really interesting way, and they just didn't. Which I get it. You got an hour 10, right?
Right.
But that's only like one scene of exposition,
which
they fucking did.
Yeah, they did an expository scene for her anyways.
Right, exactly.
But they like hand waved it.
Right,
it was weird.
Yeah, it was like, oh yeah,
Gryla, right? And everybody kind of went,
like, no,
yes.
Yeah, like
sure,
yeah, maybe
if I have to.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
She does Christmas or something. Okay, whatever. Just keep going. And that's kind of what it had to be. You're like, I don't have time to dwell on it because something probably happened, and you just went, well, fuck, I just missed that scene.
Well, it's because there was like 3 storylines that were like all interwoven. Because you've got the seance, you've got the Gryla, which I guess is a portion of the seance scene. But anyway, like, and then you have the Bartell demon with Susie. So first of all, love the makeup and the practical effects for the Bartell demon.
Yes,
but
very well done there.
Obviously, the fucking Bartell demon was a European thing because he also spoke with a European accent.
Yeah, so why couldn't they give it to Gryla?
Yeah, exactly.
They're just like, and that's all it took for them. They literally just said, Mr. Bartell, wait. And then, like, I forget, Zelda pipes up and she's like, wait, did you say Bartell, like Bartell the demon? Yeah, he's a demon that does these things. He steals kids. And everybody went,
he's a Germanic demon that steals kids. And then when he talks to Susie, he has a fucking Germanic accent. So
it would have taken that much explaining to say, yes, Gryla's also European. You see now why they cross over?
Right.
And then we all would have went, yeah.
Yeah, I get it. They would know each other.
They're from the same spooky Christmas neighborhood.
Right, exactly. But that being said, what I like about the Solstice episode is that it's a return to the spooky Christmas tale.
Yep.
Which, like Christmas being popularized by, like the Dickensian, like Victorian era England.
Which we will fully admit we love too. We just did an episode on it.
Exactly. That was a fucking spooky story. It was a story about death and ghosts. And
what's more Victorian than a ghostly Christmas story?
Yeah, exactly. So it did have those elements to it. So it's great because it ties in like this whole Victorian feel of the Spellman household with the Victorian, ghost story. And then it just kind of fell a little flat for me in terms of that. But there's some stuff that I still really liked about it.
There's a lot to like about the episode. I think the only thing that really just gets me is I feel like they try to do too much because not only did they have those main storylines that you mentioned, but then there's so much other stuff going on in the background.
Yeah.
Why can't Ambrose, why is he being tormented by the Yule Lad or whoever it was? And then you've got the Harvey Sabrina storyline going on at the same time.
Right.
Then you've got, Rosie's thing like just kind of popping up. She's like got her own shit to deal with. And I felt like with a lot of those really small storylines, I don't have enough time to devote to right now, so I just don't care. Because I was trying to pay attention to the seance that was forced, and now all of a sudden she's friends with the weird sisters.
Right, yeah, which is weird.
Yeah, like, I get it, and I like it. And like we said, there's a lot to like about it. It's just, there's a lot of weird notes on this episode.
The seance scene was really cool. Like, I feel like they just tried to include as many of the characters that people liked as possible.
I agree.
In the episode. I'm glad that the weird sisters did make an impression, or like, somewhat of an impression in this one. Because I love it when they get screen time. Their costuming is always just fucking on point, and their makeup is always on fucking point. They're just powerful goth figures in the Sabrina
You'll
universe.
see how we feel about makeup when we do our RuPaul episode.
Right.
I promise.
Yeah, I can't wait. Speaking of makeup, I did notice this in the rewatch, my most recent rewatch of the Solstice episode. I didn't pick up on this in the first two. Sabrina's makeup darkens after her signing in the Book of the Beast.
Cool. I thought I noticed that, but I normally don't pay enough attention to makeup to notice that. Like, I just remember looking at her. I'm like, she looks A, older,
right,
and B, more she just felt a little darker, and I
Yeah,
think that's probably why. It was probably a thicker eyeliner, more
it's
mascara kind of deal, darker.
the eye and the
yeah.
lips.
Yep.
And her wardrobe coloration is more like muted, darker colors now.
Oh, for sure.
And which is
And
that's
it
a
helps
good
with the contrast with her hair because it makes it even more starkly dark.
exactly, and you can really see the difference there. Again, good on you, everybody that does makeup and costume design for the show. Like
We're gonna
fucking
thank
killing
you
the
in
game.
the ads.
Yeah, exactly. The things that some of the other stuff that I think went really well in the episode. Again, they're background things.
Yeah.
But the Yule incantation that they deliver is fucking incredibly well written. May the log burn, may the wheel turn, may the evil spurn, and may the sun return. These are all great witchy things. Whoever is writing these parts, you obviously know what you're doing.
Very
so
much
good
so.
for you.
Yeah, I've never seen a show like this where I felt they had probably pulled in a subject matter expert. Like, I swear they went to like r/pagan and they're like, hey, can one of you help us write this?
Yeah, and what's funny is a lot of times because I do frequent the pagan and polytheist subreddits, and it's funny because it's like a 50-50 divide of either I fucking hate this, it's the worst show ever, and like I fucking love it, it's the best show that's ever been made. And I'm in the good camp on this one, but a lot of
I'm on the right side of history
exactly. A lot of the issues that it's funny because a lot of the issues that people in the like polytheist and occult communities have with the show is like, oh, they beat you over the head with everything, and it's like they have to. It's a show. Like, come on, like they're.
Do you expect like Diana from Iowa to be like, oh yeah, Gryla, that's really cool that they included her?
Right?
No, she's not gonna know that.
Exactly, and like a lot of the they have a lot of problem. Like the ones that do have problems with it within the community are like, oh, it gives witchcraft a bad name.
Does it?
Does it?
Yeah.
Not really.
She's the hero of the show. She's not,
She uses her powers like primarily for good. And the other characters that are on the show are all about like protecting their created family and protecting their community. And like this whole episode is about protecting their fucking household. And
exactly, like what could be more of a holiday story than saying, I'm trying to protect my family and my house from evil stuff.
Exactly. Like they make a difference between what they do and then the rest of the, like, I guess, witchcraft world at large within the universe as being like, hey, there's a clear designation here. There's us, and then there's everything else that's bad that we need to protect ourselves from, like the mom's purgatory thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's obviously bad, and they don't want to end up there. Like, there's not, like, I don't know. I don't take it to be negative. I think that the ones that are taking it as, like, negative are focusing too much on, like, the Satan aspect of it, which is hilarious.
Not to mention, it's kind of gatekeepy.
It is. It's very gatekeepy. And I think that, like, when you look at things like that got people into, like, modern witchcraft, like the original Sabrina series, that's a gateway.
Absolutely.
Things like The Craft, that was big in the 90s. Like, these things came out at the same time. There was a big resurge in popularity in, like, the occult. And I'm sure that Sabrina is doing that for a whole new generation of people that are, like, younger teens. Yeah. And that's great. I'm glad that that's happening. But I know I'm off my soapbox now. I'm not trying to gatekeep people out of here.
Trying to gatekeep people into it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm opening the gate. Please come inside. We have refreshments. It's mostly magic eggnog.
Yeah, and you know what? One of the things they also did that I really like in this is them using Bright Solstice as their holiday greeting of choice. That's perfect.
It was fantastic.
I've always wanted to find something that I like as much as Happy Holidays, or when I was a Christian, Merry Christmas.
Or even, what do we normally say? Like, usually we joke around on the Twitter. We usually say, like, Merry Yule,
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
And even that feels weird. It has like a downward sloping sound, so it doesn't sound happy. But Bright Solstice makes me feel good just to say it.
Exactly. And what I like about it is it can be secular, it can be religious, either one, because it's a fucking solstice holiday special. Right. I love it, and I've 100% adopted that into my personal vocabulary. So
it's gonna go on my signature at work. I'm sure I won't get fired.
Is there anything that you feel like I missed here? so far.
I feel like we probably dissected the story more than the writers did at this point.
Probably so. There's another thing that I wanted to talk about it for a second.
Is it Harvey? Are we going to dig into Harvey?
I want to end on Harvey because I
Perfect.
fucking hate Harvey. There's a couple other costuming things I wanted to touch on, and some things that I like that I didn't like. But let me
Perfect.
focus on something that I don't like.
Sure.
And this is about like the seance area.
Okay.
So casting people, you did a fantastic job in finding child Sabrina, child Susie. What the fuck were you thinking when you casted someone way the fuck older than Diana Sawyer-Spellman? She's supposed to be like 20 years old when she dies. Like, she has Sabrina right out of high school, pretty much. And I get that Edward would be older with how witchcraft works.
Yeah.
But you've casted someone in their 40s to play someone that would be in their early 20s, maybe late teens? At the very least.
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say 21.
Right.
But that was still not. This is not, R.I.P. Luke Perry. This is not Luke Perry in 90210 where it's a 25-year-old playing an 18-year-old.
Right.
This is, like you said, it's a 40-year-old
Right.
playing a 20-something.
Yeah.
And it did not.
It was weird. But the whole inclusion of Diana in it could have been so much more touching than it actually was.
The payoff was very low for it.
Yeah.
Especially later on when she reappears in the house.
Right. And you know what's the worst thing about the appearance of Diana Sawyer-Spellman?
What?
The heartstring tug isn't from Sabrina.
No,
it's
not at all.
from Diana. It's not from Hilda. It's from fucking Zelda.
Like the absolute bump on a log
right
earlier in the show.
And it's like, and you brought this one up earlier, but seriously, that's like the heartstring tug of the whole episode.
Yeah.
And that should, like, there was just a missed opportunity there.
Absolutely. It was like they set it up, like they put the ball on the tee, and they're like, here you go, kid, knock it out of the park. And then he just shits his pants.
Here, I'll get onto my Harvey soapbox for a second. Here,
I'll turn the lights
Here
off
you go.
for
Turn
you.
the lights off, everybody. Hey, writers of Sabrina, right? So when you have an angsty teenager that is an orphan living with her aunts, and she goes so far as to disable the protective magical measures of her house to, I don't know, fucking call up the spirit of her dead mother who she identifies with and thinks is the only person in the world that could possibly understand her. Don't have her have the only question to her be about how do I deal with my fucking high school boyfriend.
And even if you do, even if we're going to go so far as to say like, well, yeah, and I think Hilda mentions it, like what teenager doesn't want to talk to their mom after a breakup, or Amber says it somebody. It doesn't fucking matter. The problem is like, sure, you want to go that route and ask the question? Okay. Don't have the second part be him just fucking throwing dirt in your face.
Exactly. Like, that was just, it was like, first of all, her mother is dead.
Yeah.
She is a ghost. They have conjured her ghost. And you think the whole episode is going to be like, she wants to talk to her mom for the solstice.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. That's sad. And then it's like, Mom, your ghost is here. Let me ask you about my cunt boyfriend, Harvey, who is shitty to me all the time. What do you think? Do you get me? Of course she gets you, Sabrina. She did the same thing and it didn't work very well.
Yeah, she married her cunt boyfriend, had you, and then died as a result.
So you don't even need to ask her about
her mom's just going to nod and go, yeah.
Well, yeah, it didn't work.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. What the fuck, Sabrina? You know, I wanted to talk to you about everything else in the world. I have like...
How did puberty go?
Right.
Are you ready to be a witch?
Yeah.
What do you want to be when you grow up, or don't grow up because witches or something?
Tell me what you like.
I like Harvey. Can you fix this?
I never got to know what you... I will never get to know what you as an adult like. The one thing as a ghost that I probably want to know about my fucking stupid kid is what are they like as an adult? Because I never got to experience that. And the question you ask me is, does my cunt boyfriend Harvey like me? I don't know who fucking Harvey is, Sabrina. I'm dead. I've been dead for like 18 years. God damn it.
It was so bad. Like, Harvey in the original series is an absolute angel. He's clueless. He's a little dumb. And you know what? That's great. It made Sabrina shine in the original series, and it gave them an opportunity to have a really good dynamic.
Agreed. It was a perfect TV coupling.
Like, we're talking better than Archie and Veronica.
Yes.
Because Veronica's just a pinup at this point. That's another episode.
Whole different topic there.
But yeah, this Harvey, it's like he was just following Sabrina for no reason whatsoever. Like, you don't get the sense of history between the two of them.
Right.
Like, they're supposed to have been friends since they were like, what, 3?
Yeah.
And instead, it's like, no, I just met you, and my mommy doesn't like you, and I can't hang out with you anymore. Bye.
Yeah. And the whole Harvey dynamic is boring. It's boring TV because they're like, oh, okay, well, you know, Harvey's from a different world. His family are historically witch hunters, and I guess that's interesting.
Like, it should be. Like, how could that not be interesting at the first part, and then they make it boring?
Right.
How do you make being a witch hunter boring?
I know. Maybe that's season 2. That's got to be season 2 plot focus because he knows that she's a witch. He rejects her at the solstice. Sorry, spoilers. I guess.
Yeah.
I guess this whole episode should have had a spoiler tag on it.
We're gonna put that later on, and we'll just have Victor throw it at the beginning,
and he'll fucking ignore it and just
every time it's gonna fall right here. I'm just gonna put it here. Just think about it earlier. Hey, this episode's gonna be full of spoilers. We're talking about Sabrina and the Solstice episode. If you haven't seen it yet, go ahead and watch it, and then come back and listen to this.
Don't listen to this because it won't make sense. But like the whole Harvey dynamic is just terrible. Like, he is not very nice to her ever. He's not very open with her. He's very closed off. I get that he's supposed to be like, oh, he's the tortured artist son of the blue collar guy.
Yeah.
And
I just want to feel dad.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to feel dad.
You know?
That's Game of Thrones.
That's different show. But he continuously undermines his own relationship with her. Mm-hmm. He doesn't really, like, he should on paper have a character dynamic of growth, but doesn't.
No. In fact, really regression for Harvey. And I think you're right. That is probably going to be what the back half of season 1 is like. But boy, are they starting negative.
Right. And I think that the best thing that they could do with Harvey is fucking kill Harvey and just pretend like that doesn't happen.
Honestly.
And that's not going to happen.
Hand wave retcon it, kill this Harvey, bring back the 40-year-old Harvey, and just have him assume the role of young Harvey, even though he's bald now.
That's fine.
Throw a wig on that bad boy and let him be Harvey.
Give me someone else. Because you have, and I guess I get it in terms of writing, because Sabrina is a very powerful and strong character. Mm-hmm. And I guess her weakness, so to speak, is a very weak character. And I think that's, I get it, I guess, in a writing dynamic, because the one fault line that she has is that she will protect her friends and she will protect her relationship with Harvey.
Because that's always, like, the series can be boiled down to this. Many characters say Sabrina no, and she shrugs and says Sabrina yes for something that she wants, because she's very myopically focused on that goal.
Right.
And she says, well, I see this thread that I can put right here to get to that end goal, and doesn't consider the fact that there's a candle underneath it and it's going to burn the thread.
Right. And it doesn't go well, and it never goes well. And
then TV ensues.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess that's pretty much what all TV boils down to. But, the whole relationship dynamic is just meh.
Yeah.
And like, I guess I get it that he's experienced trauma, and he blames Sabrina for that. But really,
it didn't feel like it to me, though. That was the worst part.
Yeah.
Like, I think a good way to feel that, ironically enough, the Raimi Spider-Man movies.
Yeah.
When Harry loses his dad, he finds out Pete's Spider-Man, and he's hurt by that. He's like, I can't trust you.
Right.
It felt real. It felt like pain, and it was a logical link together.
Right.
Harvey in this case just feels like, I don't know, I remember seeing you when my brother died, so it's your fault.
Yeah. And by the way, all magic evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want your
You
cool
brought him
pencils.
back, and he was a mean vegetable that could walk around.
Just like every episode of VeggieTales.
And he's like, oh yeah. So let me end this episode by being like, hey Sabrina, fuck you.
Yeah.
And fuck your family and take your fucking shitty gift back. Which is an incredible gift.
That would be such a great gift.
It
It's
was
like,
so
hey, I know
thoughtful.
you have one thing that brings you joy. Here's a way to help you with it. And he's like, well, I don't want it. I don't want it or your magic. Bye.
Get away from me, Sabrina. You beautiful woman who for some reason is lowering yourself to be with me. I hate you in everything that you do. So please, writers
man.
of Netflix, kill him and bring on literally anyone. Like
Preferably,
whatever.
give me the character named Sharvie.
Sharvie, yeah.
He can be played by the same character. That's fine. Just write Sharvie better.
Yeah, just write him better. Whatever. Like, he's a witch hunter. That's his deal.
Yeah.
He's a witch hunter from day one. Like,
I want a crossbow strapped to his back in the middle of algebra class.
uh-huh.
Just in case a witch walks
That's
in.
his whole deal. And he's badass, but he's on the other end of the spectrum.
Yep.
And they're the star-crossed lovers. And that's great TV right there.
Absolutely.
That's like, I get this dynamic.
Yep.
This is going to not work eventually, but at some point in time, one of these two characters is going to kill each other.
Someone's going to give.
Someone's going to give, and it's going to be great. But maybe that's the direction it's going.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe, but you wouldn't be able to tell right now.
No.
And in the world of things where shit gets canceled, you can't fucking play it safe for
Yeah.
too long because you may get canceled.
And really, I don't even think this is playing it safe. I think this is them thinking it's going to be a big payoff, and they're playing with a lot of fire right now. Because you're right, it's Netflix, and they can't really afford to be like, I don't know, let's keep throwing shit at the wall.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they throw enough other shit at the wall that if they're like, you know what, hey, stuff's tanking, we're out.
Yeah, they're like, hey, numbers on whatever dumb shit documentary series that we put out that doesn't cost a lot to make
Yeah.
is pulling in bigger audiences than this, which takes a lot of money to make.
Yeah.
Then we're pulling out. So you can't wait for like a fucking season 3 payoff for Harvey to be like, oh, I'm a witch hunter now, Sabrina. Guess that everything else makes sense. Nah, you gotta bring that in early.
You want to see an example of that? Look at Sense8. I didn't watch it, but holy shit. Follow Netflix on Instagram and just read the comments once. Anytime they post about any show that's not Sense8, it is just littered with comments from people saying, bring Sense8 back. It was so good. You guys are the worst.
And it was. And as somebody that was a fan of Sense8 when it was on, and then still am a fan of Sense8, that was one of the most amazing pieces of television I've ever watched. And it is one of the most diverse casts with like trans characters, LGBT characters, characters of color from all over the world. It was like literally the writers of that show wanted to make a show about how global diversity is a positive thing and can be seen as scary to some people. Went for, I think, 2 seasons and then was canceled
Something like that,
inexplicably. I get it. It costs a lot of money to make. But my God, you had the opportunity to really deliver something incredible. They did for a very limited amount of time and then took it away. And yeah, huge mistake.
And now instead we just have Friends a little longer.
I guess. And we have Fuller House. Oh,
God.
Thank God for that. Thank you.
I'm so glad, someone in the Cameron family gets to continue proselytizing on TV.
So stupid. Well,
Candace Cameron Bure, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry. I still love you.
any other last takeaways from the Solstice episode or Sabrina in general?
No matter what, I know this kind of sounded like a bitch fest from us.
And it was.
It was.
It
It was
was.
rightfully deserved, and you need to hear this, Netflix. But I'm still all in on the next half of the season, and I will be there on April 5th.
I will watch this series again for the 4th time before April, just so I don't miss anything. And I know this was a bitch fest. I get it. I don't apologize for that.
Nope.
Don't dangle something that, as a practicing occultist and polytheist, I'm super excited about because no one else has ever done it and then sell me short on it. Like, I get, the heart's there, the spirit was willing, but the delivery was kind of meh. And I want you to know, Netflix, I appreciate what you tried to do, because what you tried to do was something no one else has ever tried.
Yeah.
And I can't fault you for trying, but I can critique the delivery. And this comes from someone with no professional background in critique, with no leg to stand on.
We just host an internet show that's not even popular. We're not even influencers.
We're not even in the top 10. We don't have 1,000 followers on Twitter yet. But God damn it, we try.
But if you want to follow us on Twitter, it's at GoFolk Podcast, where we talk about all kinds of current events, like sometimes politics, talk about Folklore Thursday a lot, hashtag Folklore Thursday. And usually we'll talk about Sabrina, because it's mostly just Brett and I fangirling over whatever.
Hey, and you know what? You've at least got 2 people that are so dedicated to stupid television that want to sit down and take 2.5 pages of notes on one episode of Sabrina.
I'm not embarrassed, more confused as to how we've squeezed 3 episodes out of a 10-episode show.
No, like we're at a 1 out of 3 ratio of content you've produced to content we've produced on this topic. And that's
if they
fine.
ever make Sabrina a weekly show, we're gonna have to do this full time.
I know, this is our whole job, and
I'm okay with it.
I'm fine with that. And hey, if you guys at Netflix want some Sabrina consultants, hey, guess
You know
what?
where to find us.
You know where to find us. Probably on Twitter, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, or email, whatever. Anyway,
Just send us a letter. Our address is Orlando, Florida.
32804.
That's us.
That's the zip code for some of Orlando.
Yep, that's the one where I live for another. By the time this episode comes out, I don't. But
And I don't currently live here either.
But Dan does. Just search the entire zip code and just knock on every door and say Dan, and then when it slams in your face, you know it's probably him.
Exactly. So, guys, thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed our another 45-minute ramble on Sabrina.
This one's actually going just shy of an hour,
Oh my
depending on
God.
what editing and everything. Yeah,
Hey, that's fantastic.
we're doing good.
We are making just the best fucking content of our lives.
We're living our best spooky lives.
Doing the Lord's work, talking
Dark Lord's
about
work.
Sabrina.
Satan bless us, everyone.
Exactly. Great way for the episode to end.
Yep.
And great way for this one to end as well. Satan bless us, everyone. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, etc. And, subscribe to our stuff on whatever podcast
I say
thing
it
you
every
use.
week. You know what to do.
You know what to do. Just do the thing. You listen to other podcasts.
Victor, play us out with spooky Victorian music.
Yeah.